Very good. Thanks again.
Oh, it's absolutely wonderful. I've worked with Lacoste before, and they're a wonderful organization. But even more so, I'm so excited to be here being honored by the Costume Designers Guild. It's a guild that I've had a close relationship with. My best friend is a costume designer. She designed my dress this evening. So it's always been a really important relationship for me on set and off as well. Well, they're everything. I mean, the language of costumes, it's an art. I mean, really, you know, I say clothing is... my friend Kristen says that clothing is a language, but costuming is an art, and I really believe in that. You know, they kind of warmed me into the idea of the Costumes on American Hustle. We started out a little more covered, and then it just kind of, as we started exploring the character and her vulnerability and sort of her manipulation, this sort of language came out, and it was so much fun. By the time I got there, I wasn't self-conscious. But once something belongs to my character, I can't quite embody it as myself, so I have some beautiful things that I just never worn again because they belong to that character.
Well, I think it's great because, you know, when you think of costumes, people always think of period or something really wild, and you know, a lot of times our world is very realistic. But if you don't have the perfect costumes, the jokes don't work, and the characters don't really come alive if they're not in the right clothing. So whether it's realistic things like This Is 40 and Superbad, or imaginative movies like Walk Hard and Talladega Nights and Anchorman, you know, we really need amazing costumes for the comedy to work. I get deeply involved, and it's very hard for them because I dress badly. And it's hard to take notes from somebody wearing cargo shorts, but they do a good job.
Do you consider yourself to be a fashionable male?
I'm not. In fact, my button broke on my shirt, and then I didn't have a tuxedo shirt. This isn't even a tuxedo shirt, as you can see. So I'm a disaster, but I usually can tell if it's right for what we're doing. Well, I think they love it. The guys from Anchorman loved all of those suits, and we had a great time with Deborah Maguire on Walk Hard with all the costumes for the entire life of Dewey Cox, this fictional rock star. But yeah, people love getting dressed up. You know, the hardest part is just what people wear in modern times, fashion-wise, because you also don't want the clothes to age, because you know you could look like a movie from 1984 and suddenly everyone's got crazy, you know, Miami Vice clothes on. So sometimes it's like, what would be timeless? What won't we be embarrassed about in 5 years?
Salvador Perez, who is the designer for our show, is the president of the guild, and he asked me to come present, and I love fashion, but I'm very intimidated by it, so when I was a little nervous about, okay, do people in this guild have like a good sense of humor, and I was nervous about it, but you know, I'll do anything for him. He designed my gown, as you can tell, and it's just wonderful. I like I was saying, I feel like Cinderella a little bit, so. I was gonna say that as a writer, when you can pair up with a costume designer who knows your voice really well and knows the characters really well, they're doing so much writing for you. And especially on our show, which is about romantic comedy and living in New York City, and fashion's very important to her, it's so great because I came from a show where the office where fashion wasn't that important, and so it's been nice, like it's been good to be able to express that side of myself, and he like sort of adds a whole like layer to it.
How did I get this gig? First of all, there's probably a long, long list of people who said no, which is an important element in my getting any job. And then my suspicion is Lynn Paolo, who is the costume designer of Scandal and was of West Wing, which I was also part of, she must have whispered in somebody's ear. I sense that I am riding her coattails. She's too classy to tell me that explicitly, but I sense that it is she who got me here. Well, I am a very outside-in kind of actor. I'm also not that good, so I'll take any help I can get, and getting into wardrobe is that first help. It's just, you know, it's like when you dress up as a kid. You feel different when you're wearing a costume. You feel better, or you feel more formal, you're wearing a tux, and so that's the first step towards telling the story and being a character. And when you work with a great costume designer, you are silly if you're not welcoming that great essential part of the equation.
Now, when you show up to set, is there ever been a time where you're like, I really do not want to wear this? Or this doesn't fit with the vision of the
Not
character?
on Scandal, no. I'm sure I've done other things where I'm like, really? But on Scandal, it's always just sort of a revelation. I will sometimes say, I've gained some weight. Can we talk about this? But no, there's never anything that's off base. Lynn and her team are impeccable.
Is it surprising to have people like tweeting about what glasses you wear on the show?
It's very cool. I certainly would not have anticipated it, although once we started working on it, I kind of got that Olivia Pope was sort of cutting edge and that her fashion and the stuff she was wearing was part of the story. But it was exciting to see how quickly that sort of ignited, like in the press and on social media. And I like that it's just cast even more of a light on Lynn and what she and her crew do.
This is for me, this is the best award event of the whole season. To be recognized from your own peers, fellow costume designers that do the same thing you do, there can't be a higher honor, so it's great to be here. Well, we really, we dived really deeply into 1978, the year our film was set, and we looked at all sorts of references, pop culture references, high art references, all sorts of photographers. We watched every movie set in 1978, but at a certain point the director really encouraged us to sort of put all that aside and work a lot more intuitively and kind of in a little more raw kind of way, and hopefully you can see that sort of freshness and blood that comes through onto the screen.
And then of course Amy Adams being honored today. Her costumes in American Hustle were unbelievable. How fun was it?
Thank you so much. It's something that I will treasure for the rest of my life, collaborating with her, one of the most gifted actors of our generation. She's so brilliant, she's so funny, she's so smart, she's so warm, and she's just fearless, so it's an unforgettable experience. You know what, it was just so very fascinating as the actors walked into the fitting room and tried on all these clothes, fits that they weren't used to, fabrics they weren't used to, the double polyesters and the tight pants and all that sort of stuff. It definitely had like an effect on the way they felt about themselves. But I think actors like to sort of separate their working life from their personal life. So usually they're pretty happy to leave their costumes in the trailer, no matter how great they are.
I wouldn't take. How does it feel to once again be recognized by the costume?
Unbelievable. I didn't expect it, and I'm so thrilled. It's like a gift. And the inspiration was, well, just the coven and the voodoo, of course, and then New Orleans was my inspiration, and the people and the food and the streets, the color, the music, everything inspired me, but also just taking the idea of witches and making it like wanting the audience to watch and want to be brought into their world and make it accessible, not scary.
Yeah.
They do with me. Every designer works differently. I like to collaborate with an actor and help them find the character together. I mean, if they're totally off the mark from what the director wants, I steer them back, but I absolutely love collaborating with an actor. The next season of American Horror Story is going to be pretty great. Yeah, that. And I'd like to do a movie. I've been in TV for a dozen years, and I'm ready to try a movie.
It feels fantastic, because it's all the people, it's your peers, and it's everybody who knows the work you have to put into stuff, and how difficult it is and what the challenges are. So it's really an honor. I'm really honored to be here. Well, definitely. I mean, that was one of the challenges that we had because of the books and the huge fan base, and there was already a film before us. So, I kind of read a lot of what the fans kind of wanted to see in the next film. And then, working with Francis Lawrence, the director, and then working with the author of the books, figuring out, like, what are the things that are really important that we need to preserve and carry from the first film to the second film, and what we had the liberty to change. And you're never going to make everyone happy, but I have to say in the end, when the film came out and reading just different blog sites and Twitter and stuff, it was great to see how the fans responded to it. I think they were really pleased. I have to say I was so blessed. Such an amazing cast and just really hard workers, and we had a lot of dialogue about their costumes, and it was really lovely when you have people like Jennifer Lawrence or like Donald Sutherland that loves their costumes. For me, that was like the biggest thank you I could ever get. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's great to see that people get it. I mean, it's kind of a wacky world, this world of Pan Am. So it's kind of great to see that people really embrace that and got that and don't take it so literally, because we don't really have a time frame of when it takes place. And we have no kind of, we just know it's kind of somewhere in America. But it's, you know, it was really nice that people really embraced it and took the fashion for what it was. And we did different trends throughout the Capitol. So it was a fun project.
It feels like nothing that you could ever imagine. It's just absolute bliss. It's bliss. To be amongst there's so many talented costume designers here tonight. To be included, oh my God, it's amazing. It's crazy amazing. Costume design, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say it's about telling the story through clothes, you know.
Through clothes and through character. And the clothes could be glorious, or the clothes can be anything that you imagine it to be, but without it, you wouldn't be watching anything.
And where do you guys sort of pull inspiration from for the various characters you create?
Oh my God, I pull every day like walking around the street, the subway. I live in New York. Ellen lives in LA and New York.
And New York,
so
everywhere.
Every image, every tree, every whatever you like. It's amazing. It could be a piece of paper that you see that gives you some.
It could be a car driving down the street. It could be a fin on a car. It could be a piece of glass on the street.
It could be your fingernail. Look at that.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
That's amazing. Look
That's
at that.
fabulous.
Yeah, you know.
Oh, that's so fabulous. Well, you know what? Not everybody is open to everything. However, it's part of our job to allow a dialogue to happen.
It's part of the collaboration.
It's a part of the collaboration, and sometimes you have to be the master, and you have to kind of manipulate.
Exactly. You can't
way
let them know that you're doing it.
Exactly.
But you have to make sure you're doing it politically in the right way.
Politically correct. Yeah. But you have the vision, you have to hold it, and part of our job is to make sure that we instill a trust in the actor sitting across from us or standing across from us, because at the end of the day, they come in the room, take off their clothes, and they have to trust us. So it's a hard job.
You know, I have to say it's an amazing thing. I feel especially honored this year because I felt like people sort of had forgotten about us. So, you know, I mean, we've been around for so long. So when I heard that I got the nomination, it was actually so funny because the PR person from AMC had sent me an email saying congratulations. And I woke up, you know, probably around 5:30 that morning, and I was like, what is she talking about? Congratulations about what? And I wrote her an email back saying, what are you congratulating me for? What happened? And she told me, you've been nominated for the Costume Designers Guild Award. And I was totally floored. It totally took me by surprise. So I feel completely honored, and I appreciate it so much. The first point of inspiration is always the script. It is the map, it's the template, it's the Bible of everything that these characters are about. It's the place where I always start to decipher, you know, what they're saying to each other, the meaning behind that, the mood, the feel, the tone of the particular script. So it really starts there. And you know, I think maybe for the older generations, it's like an appreciation of what they used to wear and how they used to look. And for the younger generations, I think it's a new inspiration and a new knowledge of how to dress up. And people, especially younger people, men and women, are truly excited about, oh, like I can really dress like that too. I can really be that character. I can be a Betty. I can be a Joan. I can be a Megan. I can be a Trudy. And, you know, one of my favorites, Jane Sterling. So, and a Don Draper and a Harry Crane. I mean, just the characters are so rich. And you know, Matthew Weiner has an amazing, amazing way to tell the story of those characters, and he always inspires me. So, I'm glad that it comes across. The actors don't beg me to take things home from set. I'm sure, it's funny because their characters and their costumes have become so iconic that I'm sure they want to, not look like a Joan in their everyday life or a Don Draper. I think that they have probably learned a lot of lessons in dressing in their, contemporary everyday life, but no, they are very respectful and they always keep their costumes where they're supposed to be, on the studio lot. And so I appreciate that very much. It's amazing to work with the actors because from the very beginning they have honestly trusted me so much. They knew that I came from a period show designing Deadwood, and my creative conversations really are with Matthew Weiner, the creator of the show. And of course the actors have, their opinions, but I do have my creative discussions with Matthew Weiner.
Well, because the costume designers in my career and in my life have been some of my favorite people, and also, have been so genius at what they do that they've just made a whole difference in everything I did in my career, I think. Everything, it's everything. A great costume can make you or it can break you too. It has to be right, but also in some cases has to be unforgettable and memorable.
Well, it's kind of started when I wanted to be our costumer for our show Enlisted. She works her butt off, and I think she has one of the hardest jobs because we're portraying men and women in the armed forces, and they are very particular about the way that we wear our uniforms and the way the patches are, and if anything's wrong, we hear about it. So she has to not only do that and pay attention to that and be right, but then she also, in the moments when we're dressed up like normal people, has to make us look good. So I'm here to support her, really. For guys, I clearly couldn't make it in the real military. So when I put that uniform on, we had an opportunity to go. We spent a lot of time with men and women in the armed forces. We went to boot camp. And after having that experience and seeing those people, now when I put the uniform on, it just automatically makes me respect. I know I'm an actor portraying somebody, but there are men and women that have died wearing that uniform and will. So those that are still around, I take it very seriously. So when I put that on, it makes me actually feel like a soldier. So it makes everything. Our uniforms make everything. I like to dress blues because I feel like I'm handsome in those. I'm really lucky. When we were casting those guys, it was more important to me to find. I was trying to cast two little brothers. Chris Lowell we cast because he was the best actor, and then Parker Young, the younger one. He just when I met him, I just felt like I was like, this kid feels like he's my little brother, and we've really the dynamic between the three of us. I think we really lucked out, and it works. People talk about, those guys have good chemistry, all that. I don't know. I just feel like it's very familial when I'm around them. And I'm stuck with those guys all day long, every day, so it's nice to like them. But we also we annoy each other like real brothers, too. They drive me freaking crazy. I have to kick them out of my room sometimes.